In late 2006, my half-cousin Scott Howard joined the Marines. He was deported to Iraq for his duties. I was proud of him for wanting to risk his life to serve his country. In late 2007, just a year after he was sent, he came home with a Purple Heart. Only soldiers that are injured in battle can take home such a badge. Although when he came back, he wasn't the same man he was when he left. He suffered from a lot of depression problems and pretty much sealed himself off from the rest of my family. Every once in a while, he had stories to tell about his time in the war. They were very interesting stories. But just a few weeks ago, Scott told me probably the most terrifying war story I have ever heard in my life. One that I truly will never forget. On the night of October 11th, 2007, just less than a month before he was sent home, he encountered something that was scarier than anything he had expected before in the war. Him and his squad were setting up camp for the night. In the middle of nowhere, as they were about to call it a night, they began hearing strange noises outside their tent. Scott and one of his partners, Sergeant Ronnie Iron Fisher, as they called him, went outside to check out the noise. Out in the distance, they saw a tall and skinny arise from the darkness. Slowly the rest of Scott's squad came out, guns drawn, using the night vision goggles. Fisher looked at the thing and noticed in one of its hands it was carrying the remains of another soldier's uniform. They started walking towards them at fast pace. Scott and the rest of the squad aimed their gun towards the thing, prepared for a fatal shootout. They began yelling and ordering it to freeze, and they would have no choice but to open fire. As it came closer, he could finally describe what this thing looked like. He paused. He sat there frozen. His skin became extremely pale and his eyes grew wide, almost as if they had just seen a ghost. Tears began filling his eyes and rolling down his cheek as I asked him to go on. After about maybe 30 seconds, he pulled himself together, and although reluctant to go on, he continued with the story. As the thing got closer, Scott pulled out a flashlight. He described it as a tall and slender being with arms that almost touched the ground. He looked at his face. He began hysterically crying, but managed to come and describe it. Scott's exact words to me were, "Its face. There was nothing there." I felt my blood suddenly start flowing into the air and disappeared. The soldiers looked at each other with confusion and fear. They decided to radio for backup, but unfortunately they would have to wait a few hours until help arrived. Scott then told me that he fell asleep in the tent. When he woke back up and the backup finally arrived, he woke up and the rest of his squad was missing. There was no remains, no blood, or anything left behind for evidence. All that was left were two very big scratches on his back. He showed me the scratches before, but told me that it was just an accident he got into while driving a Jeep. He came to the conclusion that this Slenderman came and took the members of his unit away somewhere and left those scratches as some sort of warning. He was airlifted back to HQ just 50 miles south of the camp set up. He was treated for his wounds on his back. He recalled how he couldn't sleep at night, knowing the Slenderman would come after him. He lived in fear and paranoia for the rest of the time he was there. Eventually, he went insane and shot himself in the foot in order to go home, which would explain his purple badge. He then went on to say how every single night since this encounter, he has had vivid nightmares of the Slenderman and tells that it watches him. As he finished the story, he began crying once again and managed to calm him down. I asked him if he was alright. He looked at me and eyes from hell told me something I will never forget. That face will haunt me until the day I die, which I know is very soon. Oh, by the way, here's something I think I have failed to mention. Scott's been missing over a week now. I'm not sure if it's something to do with the story of this Slenderman thing, but if anyone has any information regarding his whereabouts, I'd appreciate if you told me. Support the troops.